In the 10th chapter of the book of Psalm, the psalmist writes, "Why, O Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble?" As a child, I relished and enjoyed beyond measure the visits that we would make to my grandparents' home. Occasionally, those visits, especially as a young child, included visits from great aunts and uncles. And I remember one great uncle in particular. His name was Uncle Jim. I suspect we all have an Uncle Jim, but I remember him particularly. Whenever Uncle Jim visited at my grandparents' house and I was there, he would tease me that he was going to hold my nose to a grindstone, if you will. There was one in my grandfather's shed, and I had seen it run, and I had watched my dad sharpen blades on it many times, and I wanted no part of having my nose held to that grindstone. As a child, I took my Uncle Jim's teasing quite literally. So when I saw his car pulling up to my grandparents' home, I would often hide myself in one of their upstairs bedrooms until he left. And though I wasn't convinced of it at the time, I now know that my Uncle Jim really did have a loving and caring heart. It's an intriguing question the psalmist asks, why, God, do you hide? And I think we could say the same to ourselves. Why do I hide? We know that in the book of Genesis, God asked the question of Adam. Adam and Eve had eaten of the fruit of the tree that God had told them not to eat from, and they became aware of their nakedness, and in their shame and in the awareness that they had let God down, they hid. When God came walking through the garden, he asked Adam, why are you hiding? And I think it's a good question to ask ourselves from time to time. Why am I hiding? Well, we may outgrow hiding from uncles whose teasing scares us. We may outgrow hiding from monsters by covering ourselves under the blankets, but we don't really outgrow our tendency to hide. Hiding, unfortunately, I think stays with us as we grow from childhood to adulthood. What we do hide from, though, changes. What remains constant are the reasons we hide. We hide from our responsibilities to people and to the institutions we serve. We hide ourselves from the events of life that cause pain and grief and tears. We hide ourselves from those things that bring joy and gladness. We hide from the people who simply want to love us as we are. I can remember when my children were very small, I often wanted to hide them, not literally, but shield them at least from the dangers of life as I saw them. Well, we all hide. And what we hide from is very real, even as adults. And so whether we hide ourselves as children or adults, we hide because of our fears. We hide from our fears, and it is no wonder that we hide. Our fears at times are enough to overwhelm us. Maybe as adults we have to come to understand, or maybe we have come to understand, that our fears have a great potential to be realized. It seems in life, as the psalmist inquires, that at the times of trouble, God hides too. If God grows tired and frustrated and weary by all the evil in the world, surely God must want to hide at times. And to be honest, when I'm afraid and I want to hide, there are times I want to say, God, where are you? I think it's an interesting exercise to ask with the psalmist, why do you hide yourself? Well, the psalmist answers his own question of God in verse 14 when he writes, but you, O God, you do see trouble and grief. You consider it and you take it in hand. In other words, God doesn't hide. God faces what we ourselves must face. That is our greatest fears. I still remember those summer days at my grandparents' when Uncle Jim would visit. I remember the fear and the hiding. I also remember that if my daddy were outside at the time, I didn't have to hide because I trusted my daddy and I knew that my daddy would take care of me, even though Uncle Jim would still tease me. Well, my daddy's no longer with me, but the fears of this life are still there. But I'm reminded that I don't have to hide from my fears because God is with me in all that I face and in all that I do. And it's not so much that with God somehow our fears have magically disappeared, or that somehow we have come up with a newfound energy to face our fears in life. But it's a reminder that even in the midst of our fears, God is with us. And I don't know about you, but that's a word of hope that I need, not only this day, but every day for the living of this life. I hope you'll take the time to be with us this Sunday at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Paducah as we gather for Bible study and worship. I always look forward to that time. And though I'm only serving as your interim senior minister, I want to send a special invitation for you to be present in person or to be present through the streaming options the church offers. I'm grateful for your presence. And together as we worship God, we discover that God is indeed with us in all that we face. May God bless you this day and every day.